Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Rise and shine, rise and shine. Get your coffee, because it's coffee and sports in the morning. I got my three guys here, my two guys in the building on the morning show today. My brother Freddie, not feeling so well, but he's up here today. How you doing, Fred?
Hey, you told the folks to get their coffee, and Mo told me to get my rubber tested. Hey, other than that, I mean, hey, I'm not feeling good, but we here.
Yep. I don't want you to go sleep on the stream, man, on the medicine, man. I want you to go sleep on that. I want you to go drowsy.
Bro, a lot of sleep.
So we got Mo. How you doing, Mo? How you doing this morning, man?
Doing good, fellas. Doing good. Ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go too. So we got some interesting topics that we got. Those of y'all know we got the play-in tournament, the last of the play-in tournament tonight. It will feature the last two spots in both East and West. In both East and West, we already know we got the 7 versus 2 matchup, the Lakers versus Memphis matchup. So we're trying to see who will be playing Denver tonight. The winner out of OKC in Minnesota will have a trip to Denver, and you got Chicago and Miami. The winner out of that game will have the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round as the 8th seed. So we filled into that as well. So we'll get to that, probably make our predictions at the end of the show. So the first topic of the day, we stay in the NBA. We already discussed this numerous times. I don't think he will ever do it, but it's hard. I don't think he will ever go. I'm gonna start with Freddie. Do you think Dame will ever end up out of Portland?
I didn't ever think it was a time that he would leave, but he did kind of drop some little dimes the other day on ESPN, talking to Stephen A. Smith, and he's pretty much. I'm not going to go. So this is what he said. It ain't a threat. I ain't going to say I'm putting them on the clock. I'm just saying if those things can't be done, if we can't do something significant like that, put together a competitive playoff ready roster, then we won't have another chance to compete on that level. And then not only will I have a decision to make, but I think the organization will too. Because at that point, it's like, are you going to go young or are you going to get something done? I think we just kind of been on the fence with fully committing to either one. I just think we are at the point now where everybody wants to win. They believe I deserve that opportunity. You start hearing things like that from players like Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, starting to show their frustration that has been loyal to the grind. And I want to just give them a shout out for being loyal to the grind. Because a lot of people in the world forget the grind. Hey, what we do up here, you guys, it's about the grind. And I believe you can't cheat the grind. Because if you cheat the grind, nothing good is going to come out of it. But I do think it's time for Damian Lillard to leave. I think he will, but I think it'll be too late when he get ready to leave. Whenever he's ready to make that decision. I just think he's going to be a little bit too late in his career where he's not the same Dame when he do ready to get out of Portland. But I don't know. We'll see. This will be a big offseason. Can you talk about how big of off seasons this will be for two teams in the West? You have the Portland Trailblazers and the Dallas Mavericks. This was going to be their two biggest off seasons in their stars' career, in my belief. Because I believe that Dallas must do whatever they have to do to keep Luka happy, and Portland had to build a roster around Dame to keep him happy. We could argue which one's bigger, but this is a big summer for them.
Mo, what you got?
I think that Portland, I'm talking about Portland's management. You don't want to give up a star because, like we've already discussed, stars don't come to Portland. Not unless they're drafted there or maybe through a trade, and that's rare too. I think Dame wants to go. I just don't think he wants to be the one to say he wants to go. I think he'd rather management say, we're going to move Dame. We've decided to do that. What's that line? Mutually agreed to part ways, or however you want to put it. If he's serious about winning a championship, then he's not staying in Portland. I know he always says, my goal is to win a title in Portland. If he's serious about that, then he's never going to win a title, not unless he stays in the organization and goes up in the front office, and one day, years later, he gets a ring that way. But as a player, it won't happen in Portland. So I don't, he's saying he's giving all these little hints, like Freddie said. I actually think he doesn't want to be the bad guy. I think he wants them to say it's not you, it's us, the other way around. So I don't know if he gets moved or not, but if he really wants to win a title, then he needs to get moved. It's really that simple. Because staying in Portland, it's just not going to. And everybody knows that. It's like Bradley Beal in Washington. He's not winning that. Never mind a title. Get to the playoffs. Like, he's not winning anything there either. Although I think him and Dame are a little bit different. I just think that these organizations, the player empowerment thing can work against you in a lot of ways. And I know we're all talking about loyalty, but they both got paid. They got paid. Like, you didn't have to sign up for that. And both of them signed up for more the same. So you can point fingers at management, but you signed that contract to get more the same. That's me.
But that's a testament of Dame's loyalty. Like, he
sure.
He could have. Hey, you know how many people? If I'm going off this report is true, that if you're in front of LeBron James, Anthony Davis, you think would have said, okay, yeah, let me go on board. But Dame said, no, screw that. I'm gonna do it my way. Hey, I'm gonna stick to the city of Portland. Hey, got to give credit for that because like I said,
he's all heart, Freddie, and let him stay in Portland and show he's gonna go down as a great player whether he win a title or not. I just feel like when he says, I'm committed to winning a title in Portland, and then he's saying, I don't really got time for these young guys to develop. Like, right, you don't. You're 32. You don't have time. And you knew that when you signed the contract. That's all I'm saying. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can get loyalty credit, but then you can't turn around and go, man, they're not putting people around. Who are they going to put around you? Who are they going to put around you? Because big name free agents don't go to Portland, and you already know that. So unless they draft a perfect draft, like they get it right the way Presti did back with Durant and Westbrook and Harden, unless something like that comes along, there's no shot of him winning title in Portland.
And ladies and gentlemen, hold on, Gene. Hold on. I just talked about grinding. I want to introduce you, Gene, before we let you go. Hey, we have two of the hardest working men in the industry. You talking about sticking to the grind, sticking to the work. That's Coach Dante, and that's Gene, man. I tell you, much love to each one of them.
I appreciate that. I don't know if you'll be saying that in a minute because a comment that you said sparked me hopping on before I walk into work. I literally got to go to work.
Oh my goodness, you made him hop in.
You said something about sticking. If you try to cheat the grind, can you repeat that line for me? I just want to hear it again.
I believe I said something that I don't know. It's like he's not.
You
Don't
can't
cheat the grind.
Don't cheat the grind, or bad things will happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So we celebrate in the media, and all of us celebrate people that cheat the grind all the time. You want to talk about an athlete that cheated the grind? How about Kevin Durant? Kevin Durant was Oklahoma City Thunder. Russell Westbrook, they were up 3-1 in the conference finals, and he signed with a 72-win team and won 2 championships. That's called cheating the grind, right? And we celebrate that. We argued was Kevin Durant one of the was better than LeBron at the time. You might not have said that, but there was arguments on TV. Who's the better player, Kevin Durant or LeBron James? There was lists that had Kevin Durant ahead of LeBron James. Okay, let's talk about other players that cheated the grind. What about the 2008 Boston Celtics?
I agree.
What about Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett all teaming up to make the Big Three in Boston? That was cheating the grind, but we celebrated it. It was a title for Boston. And the final one, which the one you're not going to like, but you might agree with it, which it actually drives me nuts because I agreed with every move he made outside this one. LeBron James cheated the grind going to Miami Heat. That was cheating the grind. Let's stop lying to ourselves and pretending that teaming up with the second best power forward in the game, the second best 2 guard in the game, and him on one team wasn't cheating the grind. So we can't have it both ways. We can't celebrate loyalty, but also shit on people for not winning championships. Like Damian Lillard, in my opinion, has never had an opportunity to win a championship. I looked at his rosters up and down for his entire career.
Ridiculous.
There was not one championship roster. He had a decent roster with LaMarcus Aldridge. I thought that was
the only roster I thought it was.
He had Brandon Roy for a little bit, but his injuries, him and CJ McCollum. He had one run with CJ and LaMarcus Aldridge. But it was the beginning of CJ's career. And it's just like that was the best team he ever had. So I agree with Mo when Mo says he accepted those contracts. Like Bradley Beal signed that max because he got the 5th year. Don't lie to yourself. James Harden signed that max in Houston because he got the extra year. Don't lie to yourself. These people sign these contracts to get more money and then want to be like, well, I'm loyal. You can't have it both ways. You can't take the extra $40 million and then say, I'm a good person for taking the extra $40 million. Just my opinion.
No, Gene, you brought up a lot of great points, and you're absolutely right. You know, out of all those situations you brought up, that is a definition of cheating the grind. And what makes Kevin Durant even more crazier is that after you leave Golden State, you go to Brooklyn. Everything's, hey, you wanted to show that you can lead a team. You want to show that you could be, because we all see the feud between him and Charles Barkley. He wanted to show that he's the bus driver and all that. And then when we see that some things pop up that's not so good, he kind of runs from that, being that leader. It wants to request a trade and go, be under Chris Paul, who's obviously a clear-cut leader of that Phoenix Suns team. He's not the best player, but he is the leader of that team. So you definitely make a lot of great points on that. I mean, I'm not going to argue on that because I agree with those points.
I don't even think 38-year-old Chris Paul, 37-year-old Chris Paul is the 3rd best player on that team right now. I don't. And I love Chris. I've been a Chris fan my whole career. I feel like he gets unfairly hated on by a lot of people. But I don't think he's the 3rd best player on that team right now. But I will say this. He's 1 or 2 in terms of importance. That's the leader of that team. You nailed it perfectly. And Kevin Durant needs that because when he was in charge of leading a team, look, we can't lie and say the Brooklyn Nets haven't been better this year since they've gotten rid of Kyrie Irving. Like they have. They're the 6th seed in the playoffs. I thought they were going to disappear. I thought they were going to go away. I think that Kevin Durant has shown time and time again that he's a much better Robin than he is a Batman.
Okay. Yep. So We got the next one, the next topic right here. Which
I hate this topic. I hate this topic.
How you talking about which player will have a Kobe like performance in the playoffs? If you had to choose one, Freddie, which player will have a Kobe performance in the playoffs?
I mean, the only person to me that would come close, but I really hate this topic. I really do. If I had to think about it, it'd probably be Jason Tatum. A guy that, I mean, he has the bag. And when you talk about offensive skills, he has the bag. He has improved on defense, but what hurts him is the defense because Kobe was an elite defender. So I mean, I really hate this question. I really, because they tried to do this a few years ago with Devin Booker, tried to say that, oh yeah, he got that mama mentality. He's next to closest thing to Kobe, and we seen how that went throughout that postseason. And then I mean, if you had to choose anybody, I think it'd be closest person would be Jason Tatum. But if we're talking about strictly mindset, I'm gonna choose Giannis Antetokounmpo with the mindset, just not giving up, just gonna kill at all times. That don't care who's in front of him, that he's gonna dominate you. I would choose Giannis Antetokounmpo basically on just the mindset.
All right, Gene.
I stayed for this topic. I gotta leave literally right after this, but there's nobody in the NBA that even shadows the mentality that Kobe Bryant had. Nobody. The one person that's closest doesn't really have the opportunity or the skill set. And this is the closest person in the NBA to Kobe's mentality. And that is James Jimmy Butler. It's not James. I'm kidding. He corrects people. His name's Jimmy. But Jimmy Butler is the closest to the mentality. Now, the skill set is different, right? If we're talking about who's going to take over a playoffs, who's going to ascend to another level in the playoffs. And it's funny that we just trashed him. I will turn it right back around, and that would be Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is in the perfect situation to have a great playoff situation. He has a point guard that's a distributor that's going to get him good shots. They cannot double team him every time down the court because Devin Booker will make you pay with that mid-range jumper. And he has a big in the lane that's going to help protect him on the defensive end. He's going to be able to play the front, and he's going to be able to funnel people to the lane. Kevin Durant should be the person that has that Kobe-like performance, but there's a big difference. The Mamba mentality is just different. It's a different mindset. It's a different attitude towards basketball. Kobe Bryant had this will to win that it was so strong that he wouldn't allow his team to lose. Like what that situation was, like he would do anything. You could see him pouring his blood, sweat, and tears on the floor. And it's funny, what reminded me of that was watching Jimmy Butler's playoff run last year. It felt like he was doing everything he could for that Miami Heat team. But you look at that Miami Heat team, and it reminds you a lot of those 6-seed Lakers teams. The teams that would steal a win versus Phoenix in the first round, but eventually go home. It looked like he had the mentality. He just didn't have the ammunition, right? It's like, you're the big gun, but you need more than one big gun to go on a championship run. So the answer to your question is really, it's a mixed match of players. I will say this, though. Jason Tatum does not have that in him. He doesn't. It's not in his bag. I've watched Jason Tatum play throughout his whole career, he's ultra talented, and he's going to be there in the big moments. But what makes Jason Tatum so good is he fits perfectly into what Boston wants to do. Where that means not one leader on the team. Marcus Smart's the leader on that team, but not one person that's above the rest. It's a huge team mentality. That Boston team's a modern-day Detroit Pistons from 2003. That's what they are. Like, let's not pretend that there's an elite superstar on that team. Tatum's the closest, but that Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace team is what that Boston team reminds me of.
Hey, Jim, let me ask you a question. I'm not talking about skill. I'm talking about just that mindset, that Mamba mentality.
He ain't got it.
What do you think about a guy in Russell Westbrook? Just the mindset, because Russ has a dog mindset as well. What is your thought? Do you believe that he's in that category? I'm not saying closest, but he's definitely in that conversation, right?
Russ is too sensitive. And like, I'm serious when I say that. Like, Russ's sensitivity bothers him. he gets too emotional. Like Kobe got emotional, but he got a killer emotional. Like he got to the point where it's like, oh, you want to talk? Like I'll never forget the story where I forget the guy's name, but he used to wear Kobe's, and when he played Kobe, he didn't wear shoes. He wore Jordans, and Kobe goes, "Oh, it's gonna be like that, motherfucker." Like that's like, and he just went at him and scored 52 on him that night. It's not Russell doesn't have the mental balance. That's the best way I could put it, to be what Kobe Bryant was. Like, yeah, he's got an insatiable will to win. He's a dog. I agree with you 100%. But the problem with Russell is emotional as hell, and he makes a lot of really dumb plays.
All right, Bo, if you had to pick, who would you pick?
I get Tatum for all the reasons that everybody said, but a Kobe-like performance, maybe an explosive 50, 60-point game, I'm going to go with somebody different. I'm going to go Donovan Mitchell because I think Donovan Mitchell is explosive like that. I think he's aggressive like that, and I think he's still in the stages where he's still maturing as a player. He seems to get a little bit better every year, but I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell because he can score at all three levels. He's actually having his most efficient shooting year. I think he's shooting like 48% from the field, 39% from three. So he's also showing that he's a gym rat. He gets in the lab and hones his skills. Donovan Mitchell is very capable of dropping a 50 or 60-point game multiple times. He's that skilled. He's that explosive. So if I was going to choose, there might be guys who have a slightly, let's call it, deeper bag. But in terms of being aggressive, playing downhill with a killer instinct, maybe not Mamba mentality, but I'm just talking about from a pure numbers standpoint, I would go with Donovan Mitchell to have a really big game.
Oh my goodness, that's a good pick, man. That dude can explode it. That dude can explode at any moment, man. That's a nice pick. I like that one. That man can explode at any type of moment of the game. I remember, like I said, the bubble season when he exploded for Utah, they end up losing the game. They end up losing to Denver, but he wasn't the reason why they lost, and he wasn't the reason why they lost that series at all. He showed up in pretty much every single ball game that they played in. So kind of like that. I like that Donovan Mitchell move. What y'all something to say, Freddie? Oh, bless you. But who legacy is more whose legacy is more on the line right here on this part right here? CP3 or James Harden? What with a ring, who legacy gets impacted more, like on a ring, Harden or CP3?
I'm so sick and tired of talking about these two. I mean, every year long, it's whose legacy on the line more, Chris or James Harden? Chris or James Harden? Every single year, it don't change. But oh well, it's a topic. It's Chris Paul. I mean, we're talking about we're trying to put him in an all-time great point guard conversation. We try to put him in that top 3, top 5. But if you look at the list, most of those guys have championship teams. Most of those guys have led their teams to a championship. And I don't know out of those point guards who have been in a better situation in their career than Chris Paul. I mean, he's always been on a great team. I mean, look at the teams outside that Hornets team, which still was a pretty decent team, but outside of them, you had Lob City with Blake Griffin, you had DeAndre Jordan, you had JJ Redick, Jamal Crawford. You had pieces around you that could have won a championship team. You look at in the Houston team, you and James Harden. You look in you in Phoenix, you Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. Now DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. If you can't get it done, this has to definitely take a hit on your legacy. But if I had to choose anybody in the NBA who legacy is more on the line right now, I have to go with Kevin Durant. I gotta go with him. I mean, KD, bro, like, yeah, you won the championship from Golden State. That's fine and dandy. But we all know what you did to get there. But let's talk about what you've done since then. You've been a complete failure. It's been a complete failure. You tried to be the driver of that bus, and you've proven to us that you cannot be the driver of the bus. You're better in the back seat. You went to Brooklyn, did not want to lead. Now you forced your way out because you didn't want to lead. You didn't want to put Kyrie in his place, or you didn't want to tell him about him. You only want to play with Kyrie in Brooklyn. Then now you in Phoenix with one of the greatest point guards of all time, and Chris Paul, and Devin Booker, who's one of the young and upcoming stars in this league with DeAndre Ayton. If you don't win this year, this definitely had to take a hit on his legacy. Like we've always been so fast to take a hit on LeBron's legacy when LeBron didn't win. But for some reason, when it comes to Kawhi, Kevin Durant, we don't want to keep that same measurements against those type of guys for some reason. It seems like the people, the media, has forgotten all about how they treated LeBron James coming up.
Mo?
I think it's important for both of their careers. I mean, they're going to be, and if neither one of them win a title, they're both going to be first ballot Hall of Famers. They are. They've had that type of career, that kind of impact. What hurts them, and people always say that they don't want to talk about championships, but when you start comparing great players, Coach, and you can appreciate this, Freddie, you too, once you get past numbers, wins, at some point we do have to bring in, what did you do in the playoffs? Who did you play against? Who was your team? We should bring all that in. When you start comparing the best of the best, that you have to include that. That's got to be part of the narrative. So I think Harden and Paul, without titles, are going to be Hall of Famers. But when you start talking about where do they rank all time, top 15, top 25, that's going to be part of the story. I think that James Harden has kind of been a whooping boy for a long time. Chris Paul, too, to a degree. But nobody looks at the Sixers, at least I don't. I don't look at the Sixers and go, man, if they don't win a title this year, what a disappointment, because they're built to win a title. I don't think they're built to win a title. I don't think they're that good. I don't think they're that deep. I don't think they're that well coached. I think they can win a first-round series and then get knocked out in the second round. But when you add Kevin Durant and to a Devin Booker, and even though he's older, Chris Paul, who we were just talking about as well, that team has title or bust in it. I know I've heard people say, like, well, they got a couple of more years. How do you have a couple of more years when Chris Paul's like 37, 38, KD's going to be 35 in number, but in terms of health, maybe he's 38 already. Like how many more games are you going to get from KD? Like, to try to go ahead and go, if we don't win it this year, we got KD all season next year. That doesn't seem realistic, because the past few years, it seems like you've got KD for about 50, 55 games in the regular season. So I don't think it's going to hurt either one of them in terms of their legacy into the Hall of Fame or being known as great players. It hurts their legacies when you compare them to other great players, when you compare Chris Paul to an Isaiah Thomas, when you compare Chris Paul even to somebody from way back in the day, like the big O Oscar Robinson or Jason Kidd, who won a title. Steph Curry's got 4 titles. So when you want to be talking about an all-time great, I get that. But when you want to be talking about one of the best, I'm talking about that select group that sits at a table separate from everybody else. Like Vlade Divac, good NBA player. He's in the Hall of Fame. But his table is so far away from that top 10 table, they don't even see Vlade. And that's what I'm talking about. At some point, when Chris Paul is long gone, James Harden too, we know about the MVP. We know about Harden, the numbers. He has insane numbers. He's been a great player in terms of leading Houston, making them winning, making them relevant, but not being able to quite get over that hump. Chris Paul the same way with the Clippers and now with Phoenix. If I were going to just toss it up, I'm kind of with Freddie. I know we're talking about Chris Paul. I know we're talking about James Harden. But I think the guy that people are going to be looking at the most, at least in the Western Conference, is Kevin Durant. What happens with him, with his legacy? And again, yes, it's a given. KD is going to be first ballot and all that. But I'm talking about when you start comparing him, when you start talking about putting him into the top 10 or top 15, wins, losses, titles, that impacts everything. So I'll go with Kevin Durant too, even though he wasn't really part of this conversation.
Hey Mo, not just Kevin Durant, but Kawhi Leonard as well. It's time to have that conversation as well.
Throw him in there.
Yeah.
Coach brought up something great too. We go at Joker for coming up short, not having success. We gotta have that same energy for Joel Embiid.
He fell 6 straight times to get to the Eastern.
What has he done? Yep.
Hasn't done really too much. You can be happy about the MVP all day long, because if Joker won 2 MVPs, and everybody will say, hey, MVP for what? But can't get over the top. But again, Joker has something that Joel Embiid don't yet. He went to a Western Conference Finals. Right. He went farther than he did in the playoffs. So we got to start having that conversation. Joel Embiid is a superstar. He's a great player in the NBA. But at some point, when are you going to get this Sixers team to the even an Eastern Conference Finals? Eastern Conference Finals, where you going to get them there? Something he has not been. So we got to start having that conversation. No matter how great he is, we got to have that same energy that we put on that y'all trying to put on Jokic. We got to have that same energy for Joel Embiid as well if he can't get it done. And if he don't get it done this year, it will be 7 straight years. So it can't be no excuses for that. You can always have an excuse for that. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. He tried. Okay, Joker tried. So he did the same thing. So Doug, what's going on, man? What you think, Doug?
Good morning, everybody, and everybody that may be watching all this. I'm in the building. What's up with you, Mo Better, Freddie, Coach? I was brief. First of all, I'm not at work, obviously, so I got this little time, so I decided to jump on. You know, this is where people like you guys will get destroyed by folks, simply because, and I like the little group that we got here, because I'm looking at 3 guys who will flat out just tell the truth. That's the only reason why I came on. We're going to be like the Brady Bunch. Everybody got their box. Here I come with mine right here. There is a difference between Hall of Fame and great. And then there's a difference between great and good. Unfortunately for Chris Paul, I just heard you call out Harden and Chris Paul. The truth of the matter is this. When you look at their resume, what is it that they have the most? And that's going to be just all-star appearances. That's it. Both of them are decade all-stars. Harden has an MVP on his resume. That's worth talking about. Chris Paul, all-star, assist leader. That's it. And will be, as Coach said and Mo Better said, they will be Hall of Famers. However, that they fall into this category, which I call Charles Barkley, John Stockton, Karl Malone. Greatness, but no solid thing on their resume, which would be a championship. And that's going to put them in that forever category with Charles, Karl, John Stockton. Kevin Durant is a little different, and I understand, what the resume says, but what cannot be denied is that he does have 2 championships. However, the question is, was he the man? And see, you can't be the man when you got Curry and Thompson are healthy, Thompson on your team at the same time. That's what's going to knock him. So he's not in that category with those guys. The man is great, but his thing is different because he's always going to be associated with saying you always needed the upper echelon of people to make it happen for you to get there. So to me, that means he was not the man, but he's above everybody else, and he can't be denied MVPs and all that, and he can one of the greatest scorers, ever that we'll ever see. He is great, no question about it. But the way that I don't know what the question was, I got there late, but I do believe that unfortunately the real knock is going to go against probably Chris Paul rather than James Harden. He's been in, I think I heard Freddie say some of the teams that he's had. Unfortunately, he was running up against some greater teams, with the teams that he had. I mean, Kobe was still there, Shaq was still there. It's going to be hard for you to beat them guys 4 out of 7. But when you have the talent that he's had, I heard today Jamal Crawford from Freddie. I heard Griffin. I heard that you can get it done. But he was surrounded by guys who never won anyway. Crawford ain't never won. Griffin ain't never won. Paul ain't never won. You know what I'm saying? These guys is really a problem. Now, I'll close with this. If Kevin Durant and Chris Paul don't get it done this year, Chris Paul will forever be in that category. See, ladies and gentlemen, there's a difference between Walt Disney World and your state fair. Your state fair has rides. Your state fair has some good rides, can give you the thrill. But then there's Disney World. And that Chris Paul right now is your state fair. Then we talking about the real deal guys that are upper echelon, the Walt Disney Worlds. They're just better. And until if Chris don't get it done this year, then I just think he'll be forever in that Stockton, Malone, Barkley category. Patrick Ewing, those guys who are obviously great, but no championships, so that don't get them into that top 10, top 15 level.
Yeah, definitely. Again, Anthony Price brought up a comment, said, is it Joel Embiid or is just the team that's around him? Nobody wasn't trying to hear that last year. The team that was around Jokic, nobody wasn't trying to hear that. They were still blasting him about losing that series against Golden State without his 2 best players. Nobody was trying to hear it. Nobody wasn't trying to hear it. So, yeah, Eric Gordon, your second best player last year. You had a Will Barton coming off the bench, inconsistent, and to able to win a game against Golden State in that series and damn near average a triple-double. Wasn't nobody still trying to hear that. Nobody trying to hear that. All they cared about that he got put out the playoffs. Nobody wasn't trying to hear the facts on that part. But now you want to give Joel Embiid a pass. You can't have it both ways. You can't give him a pass for losing with a better overall team. Can't give him a pass for that. So the next topic, we got Rudy Gobert is out for tonight. I think he's out for tonight against the OKC Thunder. Freddie, can Minnesota win this game without Rudy Gobert?
I mean, it improved your chances. let me say that again. They are a better team without him. This is a team that traded 4 first-round picks for him. I'm gonna go with OKC. OKC has proved me wrong, proved the world wrong, proved everybody wrong. They show that they are up and coming young team. They are, like the old folks say, they are ahead of their time, way ahead of their time. Shea and Giddey's on a definitely different level. I love the William boys. I love their coach. I can't rave too much about their coach. I love that young coach. I always said that I wish the Lakers had a coach like him that had a little fire in him, had a little fire. I mean, man, I love that coach. He's a young coach. He'll be the coach of the year very soon in this league. And this is a team that's doing this without arguably their best player, in Chet. And if Chet is if Chet is who we think he is, and adding him to this team next year, I don't even think playing will be a part of their conversation, part of their goal. They have achieved the goal this year. They've exceeded the goal this year. This is just I don't think this is just a good matchup. Cat at times we've seen him against the Lakers. He can start off blazing. He can start off attacking. But eventually it's going to stop. Eventually he's going to turn into a jump shooter. Now, I do expect a better game out of Anthony Edwards tonight. I don't see him just having 9 points. Anthony Edwards probably play every minute of this game tonight. And he'll probably go off for about a 40 piece. But if they can contain him, and I believe Shea is going to show us that he's legit. And he's done that all season long. Yeah, he was in foul trouble, but still, when it mattered, he was a jump shooter. He didn't make he didn't make a difference in that game. But I'm going OKC.
All right, Mo.
I'm gonna stay consistent. I've been riding with OKC, so I'm gonna ride with OKC again. I do expect the Timberwolves will be very competitive. They're going to be better because the floor is going to be spaced better. There's going to be better ball movement. They'll be more aggressive. But I like OKC. When you watch OKC play, they don't play like they're the youngest team or the second youngest team in the NBA. They got a lot of poise. Yeah, they to your Rockets, I believe.
Yeah, we traded Eric Gordon. That made us the youngest team in the league.
Oh, that was a big, he got some wear and tear on it. Right. But yeah, I like their makeup, and I like the fact that they're a little bit more mature than their years would tell you, especially in close games. And I like Giddey with the ball. Like, Giddey's an excellent playmaker. Shea is the man. But when you double Shea, to have a guy like Giddey with that kind of court vision, that changes everything. And don't forget our boy Lou Dort. I love Lou Dort, one of the better 3-and-D guys in the NBA. Like, yeah, you got to have one of those or two or three of those. You never can have enough of them. So I'm just gonna roll with the Young Thunder because I've got a lot of faith in them, top to bottom, and I love their coach as well. Because unlike some veteran coaches who've been doing it for a minute, you can see him actually adjust in game, and a lot of coaches don't do that anymore.
Rob Pelinka, can you get us a coach like that? Oh, my bad.
Hey, you know what was interesting the other night? And like I say, I constantly said this when I was live streaming. If you look at how hard that Lou Dort guarded Brandon Ingram, even though Brandon Ingram was making some shots, but if you look at every screen that they tried to set on him, and he fight through how aggressive he just go right through it with no type of problem. Now Brandon Ingram's gave him a little bit of a problem because he's 6'10" and he can put the ball on the floor. Of course, you're 16, you can see it's not going to affect his vision of seeing the basket. But it's just the effort and the fight that dude was fighting over every single screen. They rarely can screen him, and he was just making everything tough. And that dude is in shape. To fight over every screen like that and chase Brandon Ingram around the court just like that and make Brandon Ingram work for every shot, man, you want a guy like that on your team. You want a guy like that on your team. And then he be a proved three-point shooter, have 20 points in the first half. You want a guy like that on your team.
I can't wait to see him chase Edwards around tonight. That's the matchup that I want to see. It's going to be interesting. Does Edwards elevate his game, or will Luke Dort have a reason for him having a slow night?
As a fan, I hope he elevates his game. Look, and they're different players, so Edwards doesn't really run off the ball, but maybe that's another skill set he can refine and work on. He gets caught up sometimes in playing a lot of ISO ball, but with his talent, with his size, what is he, 6'8", 240?
Who, Edwards?
Yeah.
He about 6'6".
He's big. All I know is with that size, he can take you down in the post. Now, Lou Dort is no small man. Like, Lou Dort looks like an NFL. He looks like a DB. He looks like a DB. So that's going to be a tough battle all night long. But like I said, I really do buy into what OKC is doing, and I love the fact that they have a shot to make the playoffs, and they're still going to be relevant this offseason with their picks in the draft and what they can or what they may or may not do in free agency. Like, they've got so many options. And remember, they get Chet back. They're going to get some other people back. They're not even 100%, and they are where they are right now.
Doug, what you got?
I just think you guys have already kind of highlighted everything. I think OKC just got a little bit, more firepower. And in a game like this, you need that. You really can't really lock in on one guy, really, because the other ones will destroy you. There is 2 wild cards though that I think need to be mentioned from Minnesota though. Well, I got OKC winning because I just think it's just too much. However, you can't dismiss if Edwards goes off. If he goes off, we might have a different game. And Freddie mentioned it earlier about Cat appearing and then disappearing. What if he stay in the game? Because OKC really does not have anybody that can match up with him if he plays right. And I can actually see if Edwards and Cat go off, that's really the only way I think they're going to be able to win. I think Cat he's capable, but it's not consistent enough. But if he has that one magic game, it's big. The other thing that you cannot dismiss is this. How are the refs going to call the game? The guy that's going to guard Anthony Edwards, are they going to be some quick whistles there? That's that and if that does, that changes the whole game. If Cat is such a mismatch, how are they going? Are they going to allow OKC to get a little physical with him? If Cat gone down low, Freddie said it earlier. Cat wants to be Steph Curry a whole lot, and that's not. But if he go in the post, he's going to be a problem. But we all know Cat like to think he's a guard, so. I got OKC winning. I think it's just a little bit too much firepower. But don't dismiss the wild card of them two guys going off in Minnesota. It can happen.
Hey, another wild card from Minnesota is Mike Conley being that veteran presence, and we seen that Tuesday. If it wasn't for Mike Conley, the Lakers would have blown the Minnesota out even worse, and even more, because Mike Conley stepped up. It reminded us of that grit and grind Mike Conley down there in Memphis, where our brother Doug is down there. But he's another wild card for that team as well.
Yep, got you. You already know I'm out with the OKC Thunder. It was good to see them win against the New Orleans Pelicans, and I think, to be honest, man, I think they can. There's a possibility against the Denver Nuggets. Hey, there's a possibility they can win.
Hold on, Coach. Speaking of the Denver Nuggets, have y'all noticed somebody got over here this morning? It seems like
he's sick and he started, man.
even though I'm sick. You ducking me. Come on, Dan. You gotta be better than that, brother. You gotta be better than that, brother. I don't know why I didn't think about that until you mentioned the Denver Nuggets. I said, speaking of the Nuggets, Coach, let's go over the first round. Let's give our predictions on the first round.
Let's go ahead. So tonight we got the Miami Heat versus the Chicago Bulls. Miami Heat coming off an embarrassing loss against the Atlanta Hawks when they were out rebounded and pushed around. They were out coached. They were outplayed in every aspect of that basketball game that they were the other night. And you got Chicago Bulls ending the Raptors season, coming back from down 19 points late in the game, in the middle of the third quarter. Good defense. Zach LaVine pulled them through. So Freddie, who gets a trip to go to Milwaukee after tonight?
Man, put so much stock into Miami the other day, and that was a complete letdown.
Yep, that hurt him.
And even though Toronto had that game, they would have knocked down free throws. But Miami dropped the ball. I'm gonna go Chicago tonight. And the reason why I'm going Chicago is because that win of the day, I believe, was a confidence booster. I like, Patrick Beverly on this team, Alex Caruso, Williams, Zach LaVine, and Debo. But I believe it's not. I believe this game won't be about Zach LaVine or DeRozan. They're going to do their job, but it's about the others. If Caruso's being that defensive player that we know that he is, if Pat Williams knocking down his shots, getting crashing the boards, and if Patrick Beverly bringing that energy and being, an impact on the defensive end, and we see how he get under people's skin, stuff like that. And if Vucevic is playing, big boy basketball, I just don't see how that Miami Heat team could win. Vucevic just had to take Bam out of the game because we've seen that if Bam's not impactful, this Miami team do not have far to go. And Jimmy Butler must, I got to say this too. You could talk the talk, but if you're not walking the walk, nobody cares. We've seen Jimmy Butler run his mouth, and he don't show up to the biggest games. We need to see Jimmy Butler have an old school or a vintage Jimmy Butler game. We're talking about Jimmy Buckets. But I don't see that happening. I just believe that Chicago have more on the defensive end, and I just think it's, I think there's gonna be too much for him at the end of the day.
Man, that loss hurt me to my damn heart the other day. I talked about Miami so much. I talked about Miami so much. I can't even take Miami this game. I got to go with the Bulls, the team that is actually playing better basketball, the team that actually kind of wanted a little bit more than the Miami Heat. I think it's something a little bit off in that Miami Heat locker room. Of course, we don't really know it. We don't know what's going on, but it's something a little bit off to me. I got to take the Bulls on this. I got to take the team that's actually playing some better basketball. Miami has really been disappointed me, especially that game when I saw. So, Mo, go ahead and give your thoughts. Who goes to Milwaukee this weekend?
I'm the hard-headed guy. I'm going to go with them Heat again. I'm going to trust the Heat. I'm the guy that's signing on for Jimmy Buckets and company. I'm going to trust the Heat. I appreciate how well Chicago played, especially in the second half. But even as well as they played, the Raptors missed 18 free throws. Like, what if they had just missed 10 free throws? You know what I mean? Like, if they just missed 10 free throws, if they went 28 for 38, they would have won the game. So I think that Chicago definitely played harder. Zach LaVine went off. He was explosive. DeMar DeRozan / and his daughter did their part. But I'm hard-headed. I'm a little stubborn. I'm going to go with Jimmy Buckets and company to find a way to beat Chicago and get their way into the playoffs.
Not mad at that. I want to see Miami. I want to see Miami in the playoffs, but as of right now, man, they that part of them goddamn let me down the other day. Golly, never seen that type. But that's not Miami Heat basketball for what I've seen. Doug, who you got tonight, man?
Man, I got Chicago. There was a period of time that showed when they had Beverly and Caruso in that game, and I'm gonna give credit to DeRozan too, because he held Jimmy. He was on Jimmy Butler. They can lock you down when it's time. I believe that, and they are a pretty good defensive team when they want to be. Another wild card, if you want to say that, was the way that I don't want to mispronounce his name. Is Vukovic? I believe that's it.
Yeah, I call
it. He balled out for a period of time there. I just think that Miami is just something a little different about them. They have the name and the resume, I guess, if you want to say it, or the description of them being a tough, grinded team. We can't take nothing from Jimmy Butler. But other than Jimmy Butler, where's Bam at? What has he done? I haven't heard, where is he? He didn't show up, at least not on the level that, as an all-star would during that time. Hero, it just all depends on how hot he is. That's really what it's about. But I got Chicago. I'm going by, I believe DeMar is going to have a huge game. LaVine is going to have a pretty good game as usual. And I just think at some point in time, that defense is just going to show up. And I think that's going to be a little bit too much. So I got Chicago.
All right. So we got the second playing game tonight. We talked a little bit about it pretty much. Gave a hint of who we're going to pick. But we do got Minnesota and OKC. The winner will have a trip to the high altitude city. Denver, Colorado will play Denver in a 7-game series. Freddie, who you taking tonight? Who you taking tonight to go to Denver?
OKC. Just that simple.
Mo?
OKC. Gotta be. I'm trusting in Shea, Giddey, and company.
Yep.
OKC.
Doug?
I got OKC. I just believe it's just too much for tonight. I believe they're on their way to Denver.
It's a clean sweep right here. OKC all the way going to Denver. I think that will be I would like that series more than they play Minnesota. I think Minnesota can actually get swept in that series, and I think OKC can possibly win a game or two in that series. So the next topic, we switch to the NFL up on this topic. Who will have the better season? Chris Olave, Drake London, Garrett Wilson. That was the rookie class of last year. What Garrett Wilson was the leader of that rookie class last year in receiving yards. He was the leader of that. Drake London did not have a bad year. He had a solid year. Okay, well, for what he had in Atlanta last year, and Chris Olave was a 1,000-yard wide receiver in New Orleans. So, Doug, who will have the better season, second year? Who had the better second year out of these three wideouts?
If what we all think is going to happen with Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, I think the obvious one is Garrett Wilson. I don't even think it's really much of a discussion. I just think that Rod time. I think the closest thing that he had to somebody like Garrett Wilson was Jordan Nelson. And his eyes are gonna light up when he sees a guy like this. So I just think it's Garrett Wilson, no doubt. I believe Garrett Wilson is gonna take somebody's usual spot from the Pro Bowl. And I really believe if Rodgers is there, I believe we're talking about a borderline All-Pro this year. That's how far I'm believe in him. He's that good.
All right, Mo, who had a better second year?
I was really impressed with Wilson the first year to put up the numbers he did with the quarterbacks that threw him the football. Like, I'm just impressed he made it through the year in one piece because they were throwing a lot of medicine balls. He's talented, but I'm concerned because we don't know the quarterback situation. And as of right now, I think Olave is in a better situation. I think Olave is going to put up better numbers because he's going to have the better quarterback. If we're right about Garrett, if you're 100% sure that Aaron Rodgers is going there and he's not just being Aaron Rodgers, then yes, I expect Wilson to be a 1,200, 1,500-yard receiver. But as of right now today, Olave's got a better quarterback. I expect him right now, he's going to have a better year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got you on that. Fred, you in the building? Yes, Fred is not in the building as of right now. But yeah, man, like I say, all of these, I'll say Drake London did it pretty much without a good quarterback last year. He pretty much had a solid season without a quarterback. I can question Desmond Ridder all day. I don't know how Desmond Ridder is going to perform with a full season. So I'm going to take Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. They haven't figure out the compensation for him yet. Chris Olave is a really good ass receiver, man. I really like that dude. And he's another guy that didn't do it that had questionable quarterback play. Now he's got a good, solid quarterback play that can get him the ball. Chris Olave is a choice to me. So do y'all think Aaron Rodgers will get traded or would he retire? Doug, we start with you.
That's all really depending on how the Packers, do this. From my understanding, they want that 13th pick. And that seems to be one of the, the roadblocks. I don't think the Jets want to give that up. And I think they're saying if they can't do that, then give picks for next year, right? Because the draft next year is supposed to be really loaded. But if he is not in a Jets uniform by whatever date he has in his mind, I believe that he will retire because in his mind, I don't think he was, treated with the proper respect, at least in his mind. And I don't think Green Bay wants him there. And I don't think that he wants to go back. I know he figured out in his head that he's not really wanted there anymore and he don't want to play there. So if he doesn't get traded, I think he's going to be retired.
Mo?
I think Rodgers wants to add to his legacy, and I know it hasn't been done. They're working out the compensation, but I think he will be a Jet when it's all said and done. And the Jets are going to be legitimate playoff contenders, or maybe even as far as play in the conference championship game, maybe. So I don't think he retires. I think he's still got gas in the tank, and I think he's still playing at a high enough level that he is still one of the top QBs in the NFL. You're giving him young talent not just in the backfield, but on the outside. And I actually like their coaching staff as well. So I think that Aaron Rodgers has a lot left in the tank. Look, the way the game is played now, it is set up for quarterbacks to have longer careers to me. They don't take the beatings that running back take or even receivers to some degree. You can't really even tackle a quarterback. Now, look, the only quarterback you can tackle is Lamar Jackson. That's because they actually call 15, 16 run plays for him. But there's a reason Aaron Rodgers is still flinging the football at the level he's flinging at this late in his career. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet, and I think he'll be very impactful once he gets to New York.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. I think he's gonna end up playing football. I think he's gonna end up playing football this year with the New York Jets. I think he will be a New York Jet. I will say it will. I'm gonna say when the draft. I will say at the draft, pretty much, or after the draft, that the deal you may see a potential deal at that point. So I think it's a good chance he end up in the Jets with the Jets. But if they don't get a deal done. You can also see him retired. So at the end of the day, we'll see what's going to happen. Freddie, you down, Fred? Fred's still muted for a moment. Fred's still muted for a little bit. So at that case, that's all the topics that we have for the morning show. It was a solid, great morning show this morning. Y'all enjoy the rest of the playing games. Y'all will know the actual playoffs will be starting on Saturday. We'll be starting on tomorrow. You, Doug, tell the people where they can follow you at, Mr. Doug.
No question, ladies and gentlemen. The Big Time Show. Just type that in on Facebook. I'll make it simple for you. On Facebook or on YouTube. I will be on eventually. I know definitely Saturday at 3:00. I'm probably gonna do a video today. You can just go there and and watch the video. Do me a favor, if you're not following my show, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube for me. Do that and then turn on your live notifications on both Facebook and YouTube. I am on Twitter at Big Time Lou and everywhere else, but I'm just going to make it simple. Those two forums is no doubt where you can find me. Turn on those live notifications, and then you'll see me pop in on your phone. Appreciate everybody that will do that. We'll see you on next time.
Yep, yes indeed. Mo, tell the people they can follow you at, Mo.
At Sports Empire Network. Obviously, we got our morning show, Coffee Sports in the Morning, and I just dropped another episode of my podcast, NBA Cypher. That's at Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a lot of other outlets.
Yes, indeed. Y'all know, no introduction for me. Just find me everywhere, man, included on here. That's all you need to know. Y'all gonna find me tonight. When I actually will be doing playing tournament game. So no further introduction for me. So as a Coach Dante, Doug, aka Mr. Big Time, and Mo Better, have a good rest of your morning. Enjoy the rest of your playing tournament games.
Thanks for coming on, Big Time.
Man, no problem, man. I electrify the place, you know that.
Always.
There you go. We see y'all later, man.